Alright chaps, well it's Troy Francis here on the beach in San Juan, Puerto Rico, the end of another very beautiful day here, and what I want to talk about in this video is something that people ask me a lot, and what it is what do I do on a date if I'm not drinking, and more specifically what to do on a date if you are not drinking alcohol. Okay, now people, as I say, ask me this a lot, and the reason why they ask it of me is, if you're not familiar, but many people know this, or people who know me well will know this, I have been sober from alcohol and from other substances, other narcotic, naughty substances, for over 2 decades now. So that's over 2 decades of my life has been spent not drinking and not doing any drugs, okay? Yes, I know I look ridiculously young. I stopped drinking when I was 5, and that's how come I'm so youthful now. Only joking, but anyway, so what about this issue of what to do on a date if you're not drinking? Well, I mean, I think the answer is it kind of depends, and it kind of depends on the woman that you're dating or you're going on a date with, and her attitude to alcohol and basically what she's up for, really, because the truth is this, right? You're going to get a variety of different reactions to the notion that you're not going to drink on the date, okay? Some women, many women, are going to be absolutely fine with it. They're not going to care. They're not going to give a monkeys. They may even be quite glad. Other women who are real party animals, and they just love to go out and they want to get on it, and they want to get on it with you as part of the date, as part of the whole experience. They're going to be perturbed, you know. They're going to be put out, and they may even not want to see you. And then you've got a group of women in the middle who are sort of like, oh, okay, you don't drink, that's interesting, and maybe they think it's slightly unusual, or they raise some, not concerns, but you know, like they make some comment about it, but it's not really a big deal, okay? So the first thing I would say is, for the most part, it's not really something that you have to worry about, except for those women who are in that final category, who really just want to party, they want to get on it, they want to just get smashed with you, and that is their idea of a good date, okay? And to be honest, with those women, there's not a great deal you can do, because if that's what they want, if that's their raison d'etre, and you're not drinking and you're not prepared to move on that, then you just have to accept the fact that perhaps you guys just aren't that suited. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you guys just aren't really meant to be, even if it's only for a one night stand, okay? That's life. Life's tough, okay? It doesn't always work out. But I would say that, in my experience, those women are kind of in the minority. I mean, I've certainly met them. I've certainly dated women like that. And, sometimes you guys can work through the fact that you're not drinking. Other times, she's just going to make a massive deal about it. She's going to try and force you to drink. I mean, I was in a hotel room once with this Ukrainian girl that I was seeing, and she was literally trying to pour shots down my throat, because she was so adamant that I had to drink as part of the deal. So, you are going to get those kind of women. But as I say, for the most part, I think they're either not going to care, or they're going to be mildly interested, but it's not necessarily going to be a deal breaker, okay? So what do you actually do on the date? Well, what you do, or what I prefer to do, really, and here's the first lesson. I don't like to make a big thing about the fact that I'm not drinking. I'm not going to sort of sit down and say, right, well, before we start this date, I want to have a serious conversation with you because this is really important. I don't touch ethanol, alcohol, and these are the reasons why, and it goes back to my childhood, and et cetera, et cetera. And you're giving them this whole sob story, you're giving them this whole life story. You don't want to do that. You want to make it really as not a big deal as you possibly can, in my view. So prior to the date, and even at the beginning of the date itself, I'm not even really going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it unless she mentions it, okay? And what I often like to do is I would turn up at the venue first, and if you're in Latin America, then you're very likely to be first, because she's going to be about 45 minutes late minimum. But you turn up to the venue first, and you order your own drink. Now, you're going to order whatever you want to order. So maybe that's going to be a soda and lime, or it's going to be a Coke Zero, or it's going to be sparkling water with ice, or whatever it's going to be. You're going to order that drink. And then when she comes in, you've already got the drink in front of you, okay? Now, she's not going to know, looking at that drink, whether that's alcohol or not. It's just some liquid in a glass, okay? Now, you then say to her, hey, nice to see you. glad you're here, so what would you like to drink? And then you go and order her drink for her, or the waitress comes, the barista, you know, the waiter comes, whatever, you order her drink, whatever she wants. Now, at that point, either she's not going to mention what you're drinking, and it's not going to be an issue at all, or she might say, well, what are you drinking? If she says, what are you drinking, then you can kind of just try and fudge it. You just say, oh, you know, it's a quadruple vodka and soda, and kind of make a bit of a joke about it, and then immediately change the subject and move on to something else. So you've just exaggerated it as a joke. And then later down the line, you know, if you guys start seeing each other, obviously you can talk about the fact that you don't drink and the reasons why. So you might do something like that, and you know, many women are just going to like laugh it off, and they're going to be like, oh, ha ha, and then that's it, and it's not a big deal. If she presses you, say, no, tell me, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? And you say something as a joke, and then she says, oh, let me taste it, and all of that, then she is probably one of those women who falls into that latter category, where she is overly concerned about what you're drinking and whether or not it's alcohol and all of this, okay? And this is where you might be getting into not the danger zone, but this is where it could start to be problematic, because at some point you're going to have to say, well, look, actually, I'm not drinking at the moment. Now, at that point, you don't have to say, I don't drink at all. You could just say, well, look, I'm not drinking tonight. Now, to preface this, of course, it does depend on the reasons why you are not drinking. There are some people who maybe they're just taking a bit of a break, they're doing like a dry January or something. There are other people who, for medical reasons or because they are raging addicts like me, just don't drink at all, full stop. They're teetotal because it's better for them, okay? And only you know which category that you fall into. But if it's the case that you're just somebody who you just don't want to drink, you're just not going to drink, that's not your vibe, then you then have the decision to make as to whether you tell her that up front, or whether you sort of fudge the issue and you say to her, yeah, I'm not drinking tonight, I'm on some medication, whatever. Anyway, so tell me more about you, tell me about your job, tell me about your dreams and passions and aspirations and stuff, and you kind of move the subject on. That is something you can absolutely do if you want to avoid having a big conversation about the reasons why you don't drink and your inner child and the traumas that you faced and the blah-de-blah-de-blah and your addictive personality, which can be an interesting topic of conversation to have with a woman at some stage, but it can also be a little bit heavy for a first date, I find. So that's one thing you can do. You can fudge the issue and just sort of say, yeah, I'm not drinking tonight, I'm training for a marathon, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever, okay? And hope that she leaves it at that. Now again, it's going to be split into groups. Some women are going to be like, oh, okay, fine, that's cool. Other women are going to make a bigger deal of it. And what will often happen is that the woman will say, well, if you're not drinking, then I'm not going to drink either, because I don't want to drink alone. And that can be fine, that's no problem. Because the other thing about this is, obviously, you don't want to be on a date if you are stone cold sober with a woman who's absolutely smashed. And I mean, I wouldn't date a woman like that anyway. In general, when I'm, you know, girlfriends I've had, you know, usually they drink, but they drink moderately. So they'll have like a couple of drinks maybe on a date, if that, and then that's it. So I'm not going to be in the business of going out with somebody who's a super heavy drinker. Anyway, for the most part. Obviously, as I say, sometimes they slip through the net, but for the most part, that's not what I'm looking for obvious reasons. So that's one thing. What else? Well, losing my train of thought here. What else? The other strategy that you can employ, though, is being a bit more upfront about it. And I've actually done this a few times recently, and it's actually worked pretty well. And the reason that I've done it is simply because my appetite for bullshit has reduced significantly, and I really just can't be bothered to sort of try to circumvent the question. So what I have done a couple of times recently is to contradict myself earlier. I have actually just said up front, listen, I just don't drink. You know, I don't drink anymore. Had a bit of an issue with it when I was younger. I did rehab, and now it's just better for me that I don't, okay? Now, that actually, if you just put it out there as a fait accompli, okay, and there's no negotiation there, and it's basically like, well, look, you either accept that or we're not going to meet, that actually can work quite well. But, of course, you have to be prepared that you may lose some women along the way if you do that, because for some women that is going to be a deal breaker. She's like, well, I wanted to party and listen to Pitbull and, you know, raise the roof, and this guy's a boring old square, so why would I want to spend time with him? And you have to accept that may be the outcome if you're, you know, direct and honest about it. But on the other hand, as I said earlier, I mean, really, and this can be very clouded by the sort of lustful nature of youth. You know, when you're young, you're like, yeah, but she's really cute and I want to spend time with her anyway, and, you know, so how can I sort of finesse this situation? But actually, really, when it comes down to it, do you really want to be with some woman who's you know, who's got this huge alcoholic appetite when you don't even drink, even if it's just for a one-night stand? In the big scheme of things, probably not. You know, there's billions of people out here on this planet, so, you know, why spend time with somebody when you're just not aligned on that very key issue? Okay, so as I say, you can sort of fudge it a little bit, or you can be completely straightforward and honest about it, just own it. And as I say, latterly I'm veering towards just owning it, because it seems to sort of make sense for me. But again, you know, you have to accept that you may lose some opportunities as a result of that, because drink is still very integral in our culture. Now, I do hear on the grapevine that the youngsters are drinking less. I keep hearing about Gen Z and people are drinking less, and there's a lot more non-alcoholic drinks around now than there used to be. I mean, you can buy non-alcoholic gin in bars these days, for example, non-alcoholic cocktails and all this kind of stuff. So maybe societally things are going to change, but I still feel, certainly in the UK and US and other places, actually in Europe as well, that the alcohol and just getting on it is still very much part of the culture. So it is something you're going to have to deal with. But look, I mean, if you are somebody who you shouldn't be drinking, and you're going to know the reasons why for that, but you're an addict, you're an alcoholic, you are somebody who's just got a problem with it, then ultimately that has got to be more important than whether or not you're going to go on a date with Stacey and whether she's going to like you or not. Okay, that's got to be your higher goal. As I say, there's a couple of things you can do. You can sort of skirt around the issue, not make a big deal about it, and just hope that, you know, it all works out, and that's worked for me pretty well in the past. Or you can own it and be upfront about it. But if you do the latter, if you own it and you're upfront about it, I would still counsel you not to get into some huge, deep, meaningful philosophical conversation about why you're not drinking on the first date, because it can be a bit of a buzzkill. You know, it's like you're doing your recovery chair, you know, it's like you're speaking in a recovery meeting and you're telling them your life story, and, you know, yes, she might be sympathetic, yes, it might touch her emotionally and stuff, but it can also, as I say, be not very sexy and a bit of a buzzkill. I personally like to avoid that. I will tell them these things, but it's going to be further down the line when, you know, we know each other a little better and we've probably been a bit more intimate, okay? Not really great for the first date. The other thing about the first date is, of course, you should really be focusing your attention on her anyway. It should be more about her than about you. You don't want to be giving away all of your secrets on that first date. So that's how I see it. I hope this has helped. If you've got any other thoughts or comments you want to put down below, then please do that. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to jump on a call with me to discuss any of these issues, then you can absolutely do that. All you have to do is drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or link below for my calendar. On my Calendly, you can book a call with me there. Hope you enjoyed this one from Puerto Rico. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.